think about that one?
77 yards!
Whoa!
Who is this kid?
Lester.
Guys, welcome back to another episode of the Steve Weatherford Show, and today is a longtime friend. The guest that we have today, he's a businessman, he's a business coach, he's a public speaker expert, but really and truly the reason that I admire him and the reason that he's on this show isn't because of all the achievements that he's been able to make coaching people and performing on over 500 stages in his career. He's been on TEDx, he spoke at Harvard, he spoke at Yale, but the reason I love this guy and I want him in my network and I'm blessed to call him a dear friend, he's an amazing husband and an amazing father. He's the secret weapon behind so many successful influencers, behind their business, coaching them on the stage. So without further ado, let's get a warm welcome to my boy, Yahya Bakar.
Thank you, man. Honored
And he's a Jersey guy,
Oh,
man.
Jersey, repping.
Man,
Come on.
dude, I'm thankful for this opportunity because you have been a source of support to not only me, to almost every single one of my friends. And this is probably the first time that I've ever been able to like comfortably say, because I've always hung my hat as being like the hardest worker in the room, and very few people could match my intensity or my commitment or my obsession with whatever it is that I'm pursuing, whether that's, football or fitness or family or any of the other things that I do. When I pick something that I want to be great at or I want to achieve, I go all freaking in. And that's why I admire you so much, is because you exceed that. You know what I mean? Every single place that I show up, every event that I show up at, not only are you there, you're not there for yourself, you're there to support other people. And then you look on the back end of that and you're successful yourself while supporting all these successful people, in addition to the husband and the father that you show up in the world as. And I cannot wait to share your story of how you grew up, because it absolutely makes zero sense to me how you became the man of integrity and honor and accountability that's sitting with me right now based upon your story, and it's gonna freaking blow people's minds. So man, I just wanna say thank you for your precious time, because I know there's a lot of places you could be investing it, but I'm gonna change my language. I know that there's going to be a massive benefit and a shift for the people that take the time to watch this and the people that take time to listen to this, and they're in for a treat, man.
Thank you, man. And I just have to say, before we move on, hearing that coming from you is huge for me, because I admire you tremendously. I mean, there's no perfect person out there in the world, but I just admire people who are very committed to their ideals, their values, are a stand for that, not just behind closed doors, but publicly. Right. And so I see so much of myself in you, and all my role models, all of my colleagues, all my closest friends are people who are family men, who are out there, who are ambitious, who are entrepreneurs. So really, when I say like I'm very grateful to hear that from you, it means the world to me. So thank you for that.
Well, I mean, you think about how many business coaches or speaker coaches that there are out there, or they are that I have access to. Mm-hmm. Like, there's a reason that you and I are working together.
Right.
There's a reason that I call you to get advice on different facets, either of my business or just impressed with how much you're able to do with the same amount of time that I have. And the only thing that I have that's maybe swaying in my direction is the fact that I have more kids. But to see
that's a lot.
But to see where you're showing up, and it's not just where you're showing up, going to Thrive and supporting Cole Hatter or Ed Milet, or we're at the School of Greatness right now in Columbus, and you're not here to speak. Like, you're here to support Lewis.
Yes.
Like, your whole life is not about you.
Yeah.
And it's funny when I'm reviewing the circle of friends that I want to surround me, and I want to emulate different facets of their life. It's the ones that are like selflessly just giving to give without the expectation of ever receiving. And then I think that's a testament to your success in life, is because you give so much into the universe by way of content, by way of just texting people, like, hey man, how are you doing? I'm just calling to check in on you. People don't do that. Like, you are an anomaly. You are a unicorn of a human, and I know your backstory. Like, I know what you've been through. I can't imagine emotionally everything that you've experienced, but just to know your story, it has to be shared on this show, because people people need to hear that, because you've been successful not because of, but you've been successful in spite of everything that you've endured. And as a dad, that honestly, my value has everything to do with the father and the husband that I am, and you meet and exceed what I'm able to bring to my family. So that's the value that I believe that you can bring onto this show is your generosity. Like, where does that come from? What is that intention, the drive that you have, the ambition that you have? So I just want to jump right into it. Like, your backstory, where you came from, your parental story, dude, it's insane.
Yeah.
So start me off, man. Like,
Where do I
wow.
guess I'll have to
I
start
know.
from the
I don't
beginning,
even know where to start.
It's so hard just to share, because there's only so much you can know about a person in the surface, right? And to hear the backstory, and for me to think about, okay, where did it all begin? So, I was born in Mecca, Saudi Arabia, to a Syrian Muslim father and a Buddhist Thai mother who converted to Islam for my father because she was in love with him. She was 10 years his senior. And a few months after they were together and they had me, they split up for their own reasons, right? So I grew up not knowing who my real mother was. And my father was 18 years old at the time when he married my mom, who was 28, and he was still a boy. He was still a boy, and so him trying to figure out how to take care of me when he didn't have his family support. So he got married to his second wife, then he got married to his third wife, and his third wife became my stepmother, and she was an Iraqi woman who was a U.S. citizen. And she said, hey, she's such a, I guess this is where I get my selflessness from. And she said, hey, listen, I know you got to be working. She was talking to my dad. I know you have to be working and taking care and providing for the family. I'll take care of him as my own son. I'll bring him out to America. And so at the age of 5, I flew out by myself from Saudi Arabia all the way to New Jersey.
And so your dad stayed in Saudi Arabia?
My dad stayed in Saudi Arabia. So his business, he was a travel agent. And so the way that he was closing deals, making money, he was like, traveling all the time.
Right.
So, and that was, he didn't speak English very well. So he only spoke Arabic, so he wanted to stay in that zone. So I came to United States when I was 5 years old, and it was honestly weird because I never knew who my stepmom was until I landed on the airport, and she says, hey, I'm your mom. And I'm like, okay. And so it was hard because immediately what was conditioned was, oh, I have to figure out how to fit in at an early age. Like, I'm going into a family. I wasn't necessarily adopted, but it kind of felt like I was.
Sure.
So I was going into a family who I had to figure out, like, okay, how do I mesh in? How do I fit in? How do I adapt? And
was there a language barrier at that time as well?
my first language was Arabic. So,
Sure.
but they spoke Arabic, so it was okay for me to adapt socially. That was hard for me because I had to learn how to speak English. And so my stepmother, she kind of raised me throughout. She did her best and the best that she could, and it was amazing. And then I think it was when I was 14. Like, I don't know how it is for you in your own experience, but I know for a lot of men, guys, boys, they have they desire a deeper relationship with their father. So although my father was physically present at times, not all the time, physically present at times, I still felt invisible around him. So I wanted to do whatever I could to win his acceptance and approval. And for my dad, he was very, very religious. And I had this backstory, I was born in Mecca, the holy land for Muslims all around the world. Right. And I wanted to make my dad proud. And so, between the ages of 11 to 14, those were like my rebellious year. I was an early bloomer. So I started messing with drugs, sex, everything, like whatever.
At 11?
At 11, yeah. I was because I saw, not to throw my father under the bus, I love him for the example that he was, right?
It's part of who you are, man, the good and the bad.
Yeah, right,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
Like the good and the bad of your childhood shaped who you are.
Right.
And like, dude, you were magnificent.
Thank you, bro.
You know?
Thank you. It means a lot. My dad got married many different times with many different women. He got married, like he just finished his 11th divorce, like a few months ago. 11th, yes, and these are separate times. So I grew up having a very unstable example and upbringing of what not to do. So
is that something that's, let's say 5 or 6, is 5 or 6 divorces, is that something you've heard of
No,
in that religion
I
or in that
haven't.
area?
No, I haven't. You know, normally in that culture, in the religion, I mean, you're allowed to have 4 different wives at the same time.
Right,
Like,
that's why I
that's
asked.
one thing. But majority of people, they don't do that. And my dad wasn't the one who had, you know, multiple wives at the same time.
So this was
was
failed marriage after
divorce,
another
divorce,
11 times.
Right, right. And my stepmom stayed with me throughout the entire time to kind
Even
of like
though
be my-
she wasn't with.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and so she loved me that much. Like
That does speak volumes of selflessness,
Yeah.
you know, because you're not of her body.
Right.
You know?
Right. And so when I was 14 years old, I found out that my dad and my stepmom, they were going to get a divorce. So he was like, you know, cheating on her behind closed doors and everything like that. I found out about that later on, but then it was official that they were going to get a divorce. And that put me in a very difficult place.
And where were you living at the
I was
time?
in Jersey. So I grew up in Paterson, New Jersey initially, and then I kind of like migrated from Prospect Park to Haledon, New Jersey, to Hawthorne, New Jersey, all around that area. But they, you know, we moved a lot in that area.
Right.
And then when they were planning on getting a divorce, this was tough because I just finished middle school and I was about to enter high school, and I had to choose: do I live with my father, who's my blood, and is, you know, he's someone that I secretly crave his validation, attention, acceptance, and approval, or do I live with my stepmother, who raised me as her own son when she had no obligation to? And so, because I was so how should I just craved my dad's validation, I decided to leave.
Like that was your motivation.
Live with
man.
my
Like,
father, bro.
Every little boy, I remember like my fondest memories of a kid were being in like I think it was like a 1989 Ford Ranger and traveling with my dad, and it only sat 3 people. And I remember traveling with my dad to soccer tournaments because he coached me. And my most fond memories were like falling asleep on his lap or sitting in the middle seat. And every time my dad would hit the clutch, I would get an opportunity to like shift the gears. You know,
Right.
like everybody wanted, every child, every son, every daughter wants to seek their dad's approval, because I mean it's innate for us to be able to want to earn
Right.
the adoration and the approval of the dad. And for your dad, kind of like the inconsistency of his presence and the inconsistency of his commitment, like to know that backstory and to
Right.
see like how you turned out, like it doesn't make sense
Thank
to
you,
me.
man. Well,
You know?
Well, so what's crazy is that, like, despite that, I still wanted my dad to love me, and so I said the best way that he will be really proud of me is if I became super religious like he was, right? And so I remember, you know, I was dating a girl. Her name was Kate at the time, and she was someone who I just fell in love with. I was dating a bunch of girls beforehand, but she was just classy. She was grounded. There was something about her where she owned her value. There was a sense of worth and esteem that she carried about her, and I was just attracted to that.
How did you meet her?
So it was a blind date. So I was asking one of my buddies. I was like, "Bro, hook me up with the hottest chick you know." True story. And he was like, "Bro,
What was the guy's name?
his name was is back in the day Amar. His name was
Okay.
Amar. Yes.
Shout out to Amar.
Amar, yeah, thank you. I owe you one. So you know, she saw my picture and she's like, "Okay, cool. Why don't you meet up in my town at this ice cream shop?" You know, so I remember going to the ice cream shop, and I didn't know who she was, but she saw my pictures, right? So I'd never seen her or anything like that. So one pretty girl walks into the door, I'm like, "Hey, are you Kate?" She's like, "No, I'm Sarah." I'm like, "Oh shit, sorry, wrong person." And then another girl walks in. I'm like, "Are you Kate?" She's like, "Yeah, I'm Kate." So I'm like, "Wow, you're beautiful." So I got her a cookies and cream ice cream, and then I got myself a blue Gatorade because I was broke at the time. And we're sitting down at a small table. I was trying to be extra smooth, so I was trying to give, like, you know, trying to lick the lips, give her like, I'm trying to be super charismatic, so I'm just like, yeah, like that. And then I open up my blue Gatorade. I'm wearing a white shirt at the time, and I legit try to take a sip while I'm looking at her, and the whole thing spills on my white shirt. That was the first impression. And I spill it, and I look at her, and she's like, she does this little giggle, and I have a moment. I'm like, yo, do I panic right now because I'm like, I just ruined this date, or do I just play it off? So I just look at her, I was like, listen, I gotta let this dry. You wanna take a walk outside with me? And then she was like, hooked.
After you licked your lips.
After I licked my lips, everything, she
Like
was like,
Usher.
hooked. Dude, she was hooked. And then 2 weeks later, I asked her out. And she's amazing. She was amazing. And we dated for about 2 years, and I never told my father. I told my stepmom. because she was more open and accepting.
And Kate was not Muslim.
Kate was not. No, Kate, she grew up with a Protestant and a Catholic upbringing. So her father is Dutch, her mother is Italian.
Okay.
And so I remember one time I was hanging out with one of my friends, and he heard about me dating this girl for 2 years now. And he's like, bro, what are you doing? You're gonna go to hell.
Wow.
And this guy I knew back in the day because I used to go to the
Wow.
mosque with him. And I was like, oh shit, you're right.
And you don't see your father very often.
I don't,
How
not
often
as
did
much.
you speak to him?
So true story, when my stepmom and my dad divorced, I moved in with my father. We just lived in a hotel for a while, and then we found an apartment, and then my dad was like, listen, I gotta go to work, I have to travel, because he was a travel agent. He's like, you're a man now, take care of yourself, here's some money. So I was on my own for like 3-4 months, trying to survive, and of course, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna rebel.
With no family.
No family. I mean, there were people around that could support me, but I was on
Right.
my own. I had
Like
all
you didn't
that
have
time.
aunts and uncles and
No,
cousins
no,
and
no, I didn't.
when stuff hit the fan.
Just had my dad's
no place
friends.
to go.
Right, exactly. And so that's kind of like why I went on that rebellious streak, because I'm like, shit, I can do whatever I want. No one's here gonna tell me to do what, right? But because of that guy who told me, was like, hey, this is against the religion, you're gonna go to hell. I ended up breaking up with Kate. And she was brokenhearted, obviously, and she was like, why? I was like, listen, because it's against my religion and everything like that. And at that time, I think I bought into the idea of, okay, that's it, I'm gonna become a sheikh, which is like a priest or a rabbi. It's like the Islamic.
You were going all in to get dad's love.
Yeah, so I was like, I'm gonna read the Quran every single day, I'm gonna pray 5 times a day, I'm gonna fast during Ramadan. Like, I went in, I'm an extreme guy. I have an extreme personality, so I would go in. And I did that, and then Kate, with her love, she was like, well, then teach me your ways.
Wow.
And so we didn't hook up or do anything like that. I would just call her every night after school, and I would read her the Quran. And she'd be like, oh, that's so interesting. Like, I would read it in English because I didn't know how to read Arabic at the time.
Right.
So I'd read it in English to understand it. And she's like, oh, this is what I learned in Bible school. This is what they taught me. And I was just trying to prove that she was wrong and I
Was
was
she
right.
receptive or was she?
She was open. She was
Okay.
open to it. She wasn't like trying to fight me or argue
That's
with
love,
me. Yeah, that's
by
what
the
I'm saying.
way.
Yeah, I know. And so because of her love and what she led by example, not by what she said, it opened me up to be like, well, let me understand her worldview. So about a month in, I was like, I'm gonna read the King James Version of the Bible, the New Testament. So I read it front to back. And then I was like, oh, this is interesting. It's a different, completely different perspective. And then I went on, like a month later, I read the Bhagavad Gita, which is the holy book for the Hindus. And then a month later, I read the Tibetan Book of the Dead, which is the holy book for the Buddhist. And then I read the Torah and the Talmud, which is the holy book for Jews, right? So I was like, I started reading all these books that expanded my perspective of different cultures. And I asked myself, I was like, yo, if I was in a different family, at a different time, with a different upbringing, would I be as strict to what I believe and to be certain that this is the truth 100%? And the answer wasn't a no, and it wasn't a yes, it was I don't know. And that opened me up to be like, well, it takes a stronger person to be more loving than right. And there's a quote by Rumi that says, there's a field beyond wrong or right, I'll meet you there. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go there. And so I just started learning about different cultures and different paradigms and perspectives. But mind you, this was like in the shadow. I never told my father this because I was afraid in the Islamic culture, if you venture out of the faith, you're disowned. So I would just do this behind the scenes, and just to let you know how ingrained my fear was from my dad, I never told him about Kate at all. She was a secret.
Right, because you knew that there would be rejection involved in that.
Right.
Because he had no flexibility.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And so I kept her a secret for 7 years.
7?
Yeah. So we dated 2 years, and then after that, after that, my stepmom was like, I decided to move back with my stepmom because it wasn't stable for me to stay with my father. This is when I was about 16. And then my stepmom was like, okay, we're gonna move to Arizona. The whole family's gonna move to Arizona. Her family was gonna move to Arizona.
I didn't know this about you.
Yeah, so I ended up moving to Arizona, and Kate and I were like, do we stay together or do we break up? We're young, we're young. You don't stay together when you're that young.
Yeah, long term. That's 2,000 miles apart.
Right, and so I was like, hey, how about we just try to stay together? Let's see if we can make it work, and if it doesn't work, at least we tried. And so we did long distance for 5 years. And she was in Jersey. She would try to visit me for about 3 weeks out of the entire year to come, and I would try to visit her. And mind you, I'm a broke
Right.
You know, high school.
You're living
college.
off of love at that
Right,
point, man.
right. That's all we had. Like she used to be paying. Like she took 2 jobs just to like fly out to come visit me. You
Right.
know. But anyway, that happened, and then it wasn't until I graduated high school, I was like, you know, I want to become a personal trainer. Because when I'm from 14 to like 18, I used to be a fighter from 11 to 14. I used to do Taekwondo. I was in the Junior Olympics. I got mugged in the street. You know, I lived by Patterson. So one day I was walking.
So yeah, for people watching or listening,
Yeah.
Patterson, New Jersey, home of Victor Cruz, home of Yaya, home of J.R. Smith, as amazing as that place sounds.
Yeah, it's rough. It's rough.
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
definitely
it's
rough,
honestly, and I did a lot of inner city working when I was in New Jersey during the times that I played for the New York Jets and the New York Giants. I've never seen any place like that
Yeah.
domestically taken away. I mean, I played for the Saints. I moved there 5 months after Katrina. That was the only other place in the United States of America that I had seen in that bad a shape. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, like there was nobody that was doing well. You know, you talk about like, oh, well, X amount of the percentage of the people that live here are below the poverty line.
Right.
I don't know if it was more than 10% of the percentage of the
Yeah.
people that live in Patterson that were above the poverty line.
Right.
So just to paint the picture for you guys, it was
tough,
rough.
yeah.
And I'm sure it was even more rough when you were a kid.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about my experience of Patterson from like 2009 to 2016.
Right.
So you're talking about like late 90s.
Yep. And it was rough. I remember walking home from school, and my house was a few blocks away. This was at the time when my dad and my stepmom were still married. And you know, I'm walking down, minding my own business. How old was I? I think I was 10 years old at the time. And I see 3 guys across the street. They're a lot older, and they're like they from perception perspective, they look like they were in a gang. And one of the guys crosses the street, and he's like, "Yo, give me your money." And I said, "I don't have any money. I have my lunchbox right here. It's like a Ninja Turtle lunchbox." And
You're
he's
10.
like, "Yeah, for
Fourth
real."
or fifth grade.
And then he was like, "Give me your money." And then I got nervous. I was like, "I don't have any money." And he took off his belt, and with the metal part of his belt, he knocked me out in the face, and I was blacked out. I was knocked out cold. All I remember was a lady waking me up, and I see her car, and there was her door open, and she's like, "Are you okay? Are you okay? What happened? What happened?" I was like, I don't know. She's like, "Where do you live? Let me take you home." And so she drove me to my house, and then my dad sees my face, and he's like, "That's it, you're gonna learn how to defend yourself." So from age 11 to 14, I learned how to fight. So he put me into Taekwondo, and I went
more survival at that
right,
point.
Right,
Yeah.
and I had to protect myself, and I basically, within 1 year, I became a black belt. I fought in the Junior Olympics. I was in Las Vegas. I fought in San Antonio, Texas. I fought in Tampa Bay, Florida, and I was disqualified in Las Vegas. I was a 2-time Junior Olympic champion. So I went there, and it was like I was a young kid, but like I was like super like, okay, that's it.
You're
I'm
an
gonna fight.
achiever, man.
Yeah,
In
and
every
my
sense of
dad,
the word.
that was, to be honest, that was when my dad was the most involved in my life at that
Yeah,
time
makes
because
sense.
of that, right? And so, so I did that, but at 14, like at the end of the day, you and I are very, very similar. We're warriors, right? We're achievers.
We're doers.
Yeah,
Achievers,
but when people
conquerors.
get to know us, we're huggers and lovers, and
Yeah.
we care, and we have big hearts, right? And I just realized that when I was 14, I was abusing my power. Like I would, if people were in school and they were fighting, I would jump in the fight. I'm not involved in it, but I would jump in and kick somebody in the face. For what? Like I wasn't involved.
Because you could.
Right, because I could. And so I was just like, yo, I need to shift. And so I stopped fighting completely, and that's when the whole transition came about. Like, okay, after my fighting years, then my dad was like, hey, I gotta travel now. I've supported you. So he was really in the picture from like 12 to 14.
Right.
Right? And then after that, he just kind of like went off on his own. So that's when I moved with my mom. And so we were in Arizona, and that's kind of like when I went through my whole journey. I graduated. The reason why I shared that was because after martial arts, I was training 7 times a week. So 7 days a week. I would train. It was my discipline. That's when I was doing martial arts from 11 to 14. And so I missed training, and gym became my therapy. So from 14 to 18, I was like, after I graduated high school, I was like, I'm gonna become a personal trainer. I love this. And my dad and my stepmom were like, they don't make any money. Don't become a trainer. You can become a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer. And so I said, okay, then I'll become a doctor. So I got a full scholarship to Arizona State University for my academia, and I started taking my prerequisites. And about a month and a half into the school, I was like, I don't understand why I'm studying so hard for something just to get a piece of A on a piece of paper.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense to me. And so I'm frustrated I'm literally in the house studying for a chemistry test, and I'm talking to Kate on the phone, and she hears my frustration, and she's like, well, what are you passionate about? And so I look at my bookshelf, and as you know, from 14 to like 18, 19, I have books on personal development, spirituality, religion, health and fitness, anything that can help me become a better version of myself and become more alive. And so
You're a personal development junkie.
yes, yeah,
Like
at a
junkie.
very early age.
I know
Yeah.
around about how much money you spent in your lifetime
yeah.
on like books and
Yeah.
programs and events, and it's
Yeah.
hundreds.
I went in, bro. I went in.
Would you? It's got to be closing in on 7 figures.
Oh, probably a little over. Last year alone, I invested over 130K
Yeah.
into like more mentors and masterminds. Like I'm an advocate of investing. Like I believe successful people buy friendships, not in a weird way, but it's like, you know, the busier you get, the more successful you become. It's going to be very, very difficult for you to prioritize
But
certain
that's a different
relationships.
type of investing. Like when people listening to this or hearing investing, like this is not like real estate. This
Right.
isn't stocks and
Right,
bonds.
right.
This isn't, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
you're investing in yourself.
True.
And like a lot of people don't see it like that. A lot of people see it like, oh, we spent money to go to this event.
Right.
You're viewing it as an investment.
Yeah, because that's all I had was myself at early on.
So then why do you view it as an investment versus spending the money?
Because that, like, money can come and go. Who I am, how I show up, you can't take that away from me.
Right.
That's timeless. That's a principle that for me that's principled being, principled living. You know what I'm saying? The money, like I value my time more than I value any type of money.
Right.
You know, at the end of the day. So it's like, okay, cool. If I can invest my time or my energy or my money into something that can shorten the learning curve for me, both personally and professionally, then I've gotten the greatest return on investment because now I can pay it forward.
So it's time condensed for success.
Yeah, absolutely. And plus, I just felt like I was growing at an accelerated rate at that time. So I look at my bookshelf, and then I'm just like, so Kay was like, well, what do you really want to do? And I was like, okay, cool. Let me just type in like personal development spiritual school on Google. And I typed that in, and then I found a school called MUM. Maharishi University of Management. It's like a very hippie school, like an Indian school, but they taught like meditation in the school. They're very progressive. They weren't, so instead of giving you a report card, they would measure your brain waves because you would meditate twice a day. They would measure your brain waves to see how coherent.
I've never even heard of
Bro,
such a thing.
it was crazy. So I was like, this is, the headline of the school was like self-actualization through consciousness-based education. So I was like, this is amazing. So I visited the school. It was in Fairfield, Iowa. Fell in love with it.
And what else was in Fairfield, Iowa?
That's
Nothing.
corn and cows. That was it.
I'm from Indiana, so I
Bro.
can say that, man. I'm a big Midwest supporter. I think the greatest human
Right.
beings on the planet
Yeah.
are in the Midwest.
Yes.
Very much there.
There is.
Aside from good people.
But like that place was a hub. Like it brought students from 70 different countries there in that one place.
I'm writing this down right now because I want to know more about
Yeah.
what was it called?
It was called the Maharishi University of Management. And they trained in transcendental meditation. And it was like a very scientific, like evidence-based approach
Right.
towards meditating and education, right? So I was like, okay, cool. I fell in love with the school, went back to Arizona, and I was like, okay, I have a choice. Do I stay in the school, have a full scholarship, live with my stepmom, have everything taken care of, graduate with a bachelor's degree, or do I go to the school where my scholarship doesn't transfer? I don't know anybody, and like it's a big risk, it's scary. My gut told me to go to this school, so I left everything and I went to the school on my own. Fast forward three years later, I majored in physiology and health. I have one semester left until I'm supposed to get my bachelor's degree in physiology and health, and this is on track to become a doctor. And my gut just told me this is not for me.
So Yaya, where did this insatiable kind of gamble on yourself and the fact that it seems like progressively you wanted to become more and you were willing to put money that you didn't have
Right.
into getting there? Like kids your age when they were 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, the furthest away from education is where I was personally at. Like I was concerned with, getting drunk,
Right.
doing drugs,
Right.
chasing chicks, and playing sports. Like, you and I are so similar now as adults and husbands and fathers, but we couldn't have been further worlds apart. You're
Right.
reading the Quran and the Book of the Dead, and like,
Right.
dude, I think I've read up until like 17, 18 years old, I think I had read like 2 full books.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for us to cross paths and align so, like, mesh so perfectly now as adults, I'm wondering how you were at where you were and I was at, and for us to align right now, like, where did that drive come from?
So I don't know if it's me trying to rebel against my father or me trying to win the acceptance of him. Like, it all started because of that relationship. And to be honest, I think my journey towards learning more about religion and spirituality and personal development was me trying to understand my own identity and my relationship with my father and my mother. You know, because, you know, he was Muslim, she was Buddhist, she converted. So I was trying to be like, where do I belong? Where do I fit in all of this? And so it was probably a quest for my own truth and my own sense of self. Like, who am I?
Identity is what
Right.
keeps popping
Yeah.
up into my head. And the reason I say identity is because you had, for lack of a better word, a very erratically present father,
Yeah.
a non-existent biological
Yeah.
mother, and then a stepmother that seems to be like Mother Teresa.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, all she wanted to do was love and support you.
Right.
And you didn't technically belong to her.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering, like, how, even as we sit right now, like, how you have an identity.
So it's still a work in progress, to be honest. And I still have issues where I'm trying to figure out where I belong. So when I realized that I didn't want to become a doctor when I was at school, and I was like, this is not for me, this is for my dad's acceptance and approval. And I left, I actually went back to Jersey to tell my father the news. This is where Kate was also staying. So we were still together.
What was that flight home like?
It was nerve-wracking, bro.
Because
this was
you knew.
Oh, I knew it was
You
gonna
knew
happen. He
how
was
it was
gonna be
gonna
so
go.
disappointed, and I was just I was afraid, bro. I was shitting bricks, you know. And so I'm the oldest of 7 brothers and sisters. So when I knock on the door, I have my younger brothers and sisters. Hey, yeah.
Your life is like a movie.
Right.
7 brothers and
Yeah,
sisters.
bro.
Your dad's been divorced
Dude,
10 times.
it's
You've
I
never
don't,
met
I don't
your
have a
mom.
full-blooded brother or sister. I have 2 brothers and sisters who I've never met. You know, like, I have most of my brothers are either step or half. You know, so when I knock on that door and I see my youngest brothers and sisters who are from a completely different mother, at the time, and I tell my dad, I'm like, hey, Dad, I'm here, and I have my 2 big bags that I packed up, because I thought he was gonna be like accept me to stay in the house, and he was like, what are you doing here? I said, listen, I don't think I'm gonna become a doctor. He's like, what are you trying to do next? I was like, I have no idea what I want to do, and he's like, go back and finish what you started. Don't be stupid. I was like, I want to follow my heart, Dad. I just want to follow my heart. I was like, what is this bullshit heart talk? He's like, go back
I feel
and
like
finish
that,
it.
and I have an amazing dad, but I feel like that's what my dad's like, hard working, blue collar,
Right, right.
Indiana, like, what is this heart talk?
Right,
Go
right.
get it done.
Right, exactly. And I can respect where he's coming from, and he's probably
Right.
he was looking out for me, right? Like, it's like, don't make stupid decisions. And you gotta understand, like, I'm the first person in my family ever to get an education in America. So this was a big deal for him, and you know, in the Middle Eastern and Asian Eastern cultures, reputation means a lot for them.
Sure, achievement
Right,
is
achievement is very, very important. And so he was disappointed, and he was like, he just gave me an ultimatum: if you don't go back. And this time, I told my dad about Kate, you know, and he wasn't happy about her.
That's the double whammy. Like,
And he was
I'm
like,
dropping
listen.
out of school, and I'm
And he thought-
dating a white chick that's a Christian.
He thought she was brainwashing me. And he was like, listen, if you don't, I know why you're really here. You're here because of this girl. Like, he would never acknowledge her. And he would say, he said something along the lines of, if you don't go back, finish what you started, you're never allowed to see her. And I said, okay, I'm leaving.
Did you struggle with because she seems like she was the only thing in your life that
Yeah.
was stable.
She was.
Did
She
you
was
struggle
the only
with
thing. Yeah.
there was a power struggle in between, like, the pursuit of the acceptance of a father
Yep.
and abandoning the only thing that had ever shown you consistent love,
Yeah.
stability, and
Oh, yeah.
support. What, like,
It takes
where do you go
Bro.
mentally?
Well, I go back to the
'Cause
principles.
there's no way to win, because it's either like
I was
at
gonna
least
lose.
I'm trying to imagine,
you're
like,
right.
You're telling an amazing story, so I actually like feel like I'm in a movie right now with you. You know what I mean? You are an amazing storyteller, and I feel like in a movie you're at a crossroads of like picking consistency of what you're gonna get,
Yeah.
or making the gamble that like one day Dad's gonna be proud of me.
Well, you know how I coped with that?
I don't.
I didn't choose. It might have looked like a choice, but I didn't choose. I lied. I pretended to be someone that I wasn't. I would be afraid walking on eggshells just trying to win the acceptance and approval of him consistently.
So you lied to your father.
So I kept lying to my father. Oh,
Okay.
Dad, I'll do whatever you want. But at that point, at that stage in my life, I was 22 at the time. I just said, okay, like that was my first time I put my foot down and said, okay, no, I'll leave. I can respect your boundaries because this is your home, but I'm gonna leave. If you're gonna give me that ultimatum where I have to choose between Kate or go back to school,
Sure.
I'm not gonna do something just for whatever reason,
On
just
a
so you
whim.
can be happy, right?
Right.
So I'm starting to get more courage. So anyway, I leave the house and my friend hears about my situation. He's like, hey bro, you don't worry about it. You can stay at my house. And I'm depressed. I'm confused. I'm really upset. And then my friend says, I've been thinking about your situation. I think you should become like a motivational speaker or life coach for young people. And I look at him and I'm like, bro, that's the dumbest idea I've ever heard. No one's gonna listen to a 22-year-old college dropout give life advice. I wouldn't take my own
What
advice.
was that friend's name?
Michael Rivera.
Hey, Michael
from
Rivera.
Hawthorne, New Jersey.
You're watching this right now? Thank you for saying
Yeah,
that.
love you, Mike. Love you, man.
Dude, if it wasn't for that,
Oh, dude,
Who knows, man?
he was literally in that moment.
that's the
he was,
catalyst for what, like, how you show up in the world.
Yeah.
Because, like, I know so many of the influencers that you're kind of like the wizard behind the screen.
Yeah.
And not that you're like making those influencers impact on the level there, but you're supporting them with the tools that they need.
Right.
By giving them the stage presence or teaching them how to tell stories,
Right.
or for me, helping me with arranging different business platforms or ideas or kind of like avenues to serve on a greater scale.
Yeah.
Without was it Michael Roberto?
Michael Rivera.
Rivera.
Italian
Without
family.
him,
Yeah.
we wouldn't be sitting here right
That's
now.
so true.
And without
So true.
him, you wouldn't have those relationships with those influencers, and those influencers are impacting millions of people.
Right.
This podcast is going to impact hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people.
Right.
So thanks, Michael.
Thank you, brother. Yeah. And when he suggested that,
That's heavy, man. Think
Well,
about the ripple effect of that conversation.
I ignored it, to be honest. I ignored it initially. I shot it down.
It made you think about it, though.
But
At
he
least
made me,
for a
he
second.
was like, just sleep on it. Okay, I slept on it. And I went on Google the next day and then I typed in motivational speaking life coaching programs and I found two. One was a speaking program in the education market for like high schools and colleges. The other was a guy named, you know him, Tony Robbins. And he
Heard
had
of him before.
Yeah, he had a program called Robbins Madonna's Training. And both of those programs combined, like the total cost was like $9,000. I didn't have $9,000.
And how old were you?
I was 22.
You were 22 and you were like sleeping on the bottom bunk.
Yeah, I'm
essentially.
staying with my buddy, and he didn't even have like a frame like on his mattress. It was just like a mattress.
So never
on the
mind, it
floor.
wasn't the bottom bunk, it was
Right.
the floor.
It was the floor. It was the floor. And so I was like, there was a video that Tony Robbins had. It says it's not about it's titled Resources versus Resourcefulness.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's not about whether you have the resources. It's about whether you're willing to be resourceful. Burn the boats and take the fucking island, right? So I was like,
Wow.
okay, I made a commitment first. I said, I'm doing this. I went all in because I did my research, and now I just had to figure out a way to make it happen. So I started cold calling anybody who I met over the years, and I was like, hey, listen, I need $9,000. I'm gonna be a motivational speaker. And they're like, who the fuck is this? And they would hang up the call. And then two people believed in me, Dr. Henry Yu and Katie Saradat. So Dr. Henry Yu was one of my mentors, early mentors when I was thinking about becoming a doctor. I shadowed underneath him. I worked in his office.
So he knew your character.
He knew my character. And Katie Saradat, she met me at the school that I went to where they taught the meditation.
Okay.
And she always like believed in me. She cared about me. So I got $2,000 from her. I got $2,000 from him, and I had to figure out how to get $5,000. And so I got two jobs, one as a chiropractor's assistant, one as a waiter. I was like, that's it. All the money that I got, I just invested it back into the course. And within 1 year, I went full-time as a speaker. And I was the youngest graduate in Tony Robbins' coaching program at 22. And then just my career just blew up from there in the education market. So I was known in there.
You like, I'm noticing trends of you being like a master at condensing time for achievement.
Yeah.
How do you get a black belt in 12 months and then graduate from this course that cost $9,000. So guaranteed it was extensive.
Yeah.
How are you able to do that like multiple times during your life?
I think it's like the all-in mentality, right? I'm going all in. If I have one thing that I'm going to focus on, how am I going to throw myself into it, immerse myself into it as a student, embrace the chaos, and whatever comes from that. I feel like that's, like, I don't have a plan B, I don't have another option. It's like, this is it. And I don't know if I do that intentionally because I know I thrive well under pressure, but that's just how I've survived and gotten to where I am today, from going to martial arts to trying to figure out how to survive when my dad had to leave and I had to take care of myself. Like, I had to figure it out. There was no other option for me.
So for somebody that wants that and wants to be able to like develop in that in their life, the all-in mentality, the this is where I want to get, eliminate distractions, go all in. Like, how does somebody develop that mindset?
It's a great question, bro. And I don't have a poetic answer to this.
It doesn't have to be poetic.
The way that
man.
I've
Just
done
like
it, honestly,
don't make it pretty. Just speak from the heart.
I just put my money where my mouth is.
Yeah.
That's the highest form of commitment.
Yeah.
When I had nothing,
Skin
I
in the
still
game,
figured
man.
it out. Like, so professionally speaking, personally speaking, there are two ways you can pay people in life. You can pay them with your time, or you can pay them with your money, right? One of those ways you'll never get back, and that's your time. When I didn't have the money, my personal development, I invested all of my time. When people were playing video games, I was reading books. And I just went in and I immersed myself in whatever it is that I was learning to become a student first and foremost, so that maybe one day I could teach it, but more importantly, I could live it. That's what I did. And then when it came to my professional well-being, to grow to where I am today, it's like, okay, cool, I gotta pay to play. Let me figure out a way to make it happen. Even if somebody would give me a handout, like, here's the reality. I know I have a lot of friends and we have very similar circles. They would openly give me things for free. I don't do that.
Yeah, I don't take free.
I say, no, please, I'm not paying you, I'm paying for my success. Because I know that when I pay, I'm gonna pay more attention to it, period. And so it's just like
It's a powerful way to think about it, because especially when you have such a, like you and I have a very, very successful inner circle of friends, and friends help friends.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, like, I don't accept free things either. Like, we're gonna work together. Like, I'm not expecting any favors.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, just the fact that I'm able to identify somebody that I know that's gonna help me, give me the tools to level up and serve on a grander scale.
Right.
Like, I'm starting to view it the same way you viewed it since a young age. It's an investment, because I know the return on that investment is me becoming a more efficient, more effective version of myself, which in turn is going to like maximize and amplify exponentially my impact on whatever it is that I want to do.
Right. I think the sooner, regardless of what stage you're in, personally or professionally, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're an athlete, whether you're just a person who's trying to grow, do your best, starting right now in this moment, to protect your team. TEAM. Your time, your energy, your attention, and your money. Meaning, be very selective of where you choose to invest it. Very, very selective.
So team, let's do this again, just because for my own education, and also for everybody that's watching on YouTube and listening on iTunes. TEAM.
Yeah.
Your time, your energy,
your attention,
and
your money. Right. And we live in an age where I call it infobesity. We have so much information.
I've heard you say that before,
Yeah.
and I've never heard it before.
Yeah.
That's deep.
Yeah, it is.
It really is, man. Because for people that claim that they don't know how to do something, they're freaking lazy.
Right.
Because there's so much free content out there.
Yeah.
It's astounding.
Right.
Like, if somebody says they don't know how to get in shape, they're ridiculous.
Right.
There's literally, there's probably 1 million people that are giving you all the tools that you need in order to get in shape. The people that make a lot of money teaching people how to get in shape are the people that time condense it and make it very easily accessible.
Correct.
And they arrange it in a way that people can apply it really easy. So honestly, like, at the end of the day, if somebody wants to get in shape, they really just pay for somebody to take all of that information that's already out there for free.
Right.
They're taking all of the research required in order for people to get those and put it together.
Right.
They're paying for people to just arrange it for them because it's already out there.
Yeah, and you prioritize it. When you pay more for something, you'll just prioritize it and pay more attention to it. So it's like that. If there was a secret to success that I would claim, besides going all in and going through, it would be
Which is
that.
kind of vague and kind of hard to understand. Like, how do you wrap your mind around going all in?
Right. Yeah. So it's like, so let's say we'll take fitness for example. Right. How many people we know in this day and age who say they want the body that they want?
Everybody does.
Everybody does.
And nobody's happy exactly where they're at. I'm not happy where
Right.
I'm at, and I've been on the cover of Muscle and Fitness.
Right, but
the magazine of magazines.
Here's the thing. This is what's crazy. It's like how many people who say they want that actually follow through with it. Mm-hmm. We're always a work in progress. There's always another level, but to kind of go all in, like I tell everyone, like one of my missions is to help people own their value. And in both personally and professionally,
That's powerful.
Right? I want them to own their value. And for me, from a business standpoint, owning your values is to protect your time, to charge what you're worth, because what you've gone through, your experience and your expertise is going to do so much for the person who actually invests in it. So when you're charging like a high price point, it's not oh, I'm greedy, I'm taking all the money. It's you're doing it for them because you're making it a priority for them. They're already committing to the success before the coaching begins. They said, hey, I'm voting with my time. Here you go, take my wallet, right? And it's like, now I have a level of commitment. So like, I don't know how it is for you, but when I look for clients to work with, I want to see where their commitment threshold is. This is how Tony Robbins coaches, right? He sees, okay, you say you want to change, well, how long have you been trying to change that behavior? Okay, what he does from a neurological standpoint, he calls it neuro-linguistic programming, or neuro-associative conditioning. He shifted it to neuro-associative conditioning. He tries to get to a person, interrupt their patterns to get them to a certain level of commitment before the change begins.
Okay.
So once you get that,
And what's the most dear to people? Their money.
right? Because it's a physiological. There's a psychological attachment to it. People are like, oh, what? Okay, cool. Now you know. Oh, everybody wants to talk a good game. You want to become successful? Cool. You want to do that? Oh, all right, yeah, nice. But are you willing to put your money where your mouth is, Yaya, Steve, everyone else? Are you willing to put your money where your mouth is? Are you willing to put your time, your energy, your attention, and your money to go all in into what you want?
That money part is where, honestly, I feel like people get the most benefit, and it's interesting to hear you explain that, because I've never had to pay for coaching. I've been so fortunate to have free coaching for my athletics and for my fitness endeavors, because I've got great friends
Right.
that have invested into me. But now I'm getting to the point right now where I want business coaching.
Yeah.
I want life coaching, because I want to be able to provide that to people.
Right.
I love fitness. Fitness will always play a massive, massive role in my life, and it is my favorite thing in life, because it's one of the only fair things in life. You're always going to get out of it what you invest into it. So
Right.
for me, I have always gone all in on fitness and health and wellness and maximizing my genetic potential.
Right.
But now I want to do that in business. I want to do that in life. And in order for me to grow the way that I'm going to need to grow,
Right.
I'm going to need to put skin in the game.
Absolutely.
And so I'm excited to make that commitment, because I'm excited to see how my level of commitment can increase from what it is right now, which I'm already going to go all in.
Oh, dude.
But now I'm going to go all in with some skin in the game.
Bro, it's
You know
gonna
what I
be
mean?
it's gonna be amazing, because I think there's a certain segment of our population, people who listen to podcasts or read books, they just want more information, right? But there is another segment, the committed few, who want a transformation, and they are willing to pay more for something like that because they'll value it more. You know, I was thinking about value based on our conversation that you and I had yesterday, and I don't know if you feel this way, but like sometimes when I'm around very, very successful people that I really look up to and that I admire, they might have a huge network or they might have a huge net worth, whatever the story that I'm telling myself is. Sometimes I feel like, well, how do I add value in this? Like I feel insignificant, inadequate, or incompetent.
Yeah, we
there.
both, though, I've
Right.
struggled with self-worth.
Like comparison,
that's
right?
my jam,
Yeah.
honestly, and it's been the thing that's held me back, but it's also been the thing that's pushed me to become successful, because when I felt like I wasn't enough, that pushed me to achieve, because I thought if I would achieve, then finally I would accept myself.
Right.
And it's a slippery slope,
Right.
because You know, first it was like I'm a 108-pound freshman in high school, you know, and now I want to get to a certain physique. I want to get to a certain weight. I want to make it onto the varsity. I want to be All-State. I want to be All-American. Right. You know, I want to get a scholarship. I want to make it to the pros. I want to be a Super Bowl champion. I want to make a 10-year NFL veteran. And then you do all those things, but every single achievement that became increasingly harder to get to, I ended up feeling less and less like a lower and lower self-worth, because I felt like if I just get to this spot, then finally, like, I'll finally be enough and I'll belong and I'll become accepted. But through my journeys of self-development and the different kind of vision quests that I've been on, I've realized that I don't want to say I wasted my time, because there's fruits from that labor. I became, you know, financially stable through my NFL career, and was able to garner a lot of different accolades. And so I know that you can, that's why our journeys are so similar, because you, and I'm still pursuing, you know, the acceptance of other people when I'm fighting those impulses, because I had those habits, and those habits helped me to achieve for 30 years. But now I finally give myself love, and it's absolutely transformed my life, because as soon as those impulses of you're not enough, like, become something more to gain acceptance, I just want to become more now. Dude. You know what I mean? So it's hard to fight that struggle, because I've got 30 years. I mean, you think about it takes 21 days to start a habit and 90 days to start a new lifestyle. I got 30 years I'm trying to break. You know, and that's like my prayer every morning when I wake up is, God, just let me know that I'm enough today. And if I accept myself and grant myself that love, then pushing forward to become more isn't a game for anyone else. Like, I'm playing for an audience of one, and it's completely changed my life. It's changed my marriage. It's changed the way that I parent my kids.
Is it okay if we talk about love for just a moment?
Dude,
because this
all over it, man.
So, just to close the loop between my relationship with my father, still in the shadows, never told him about, like, was never a religious person, but more of a spiritual person, like, but I never told him that, right? And when I was 25 years old, I decided, I was like, you know what, I want to find my mom. I was looking for her for 8 years on my own after I graduated high school, and I had no idea how I was going to find her. And despite calling the Thai embassy, the Red Cross, the police in Thailand, nothing. So after
you had no idea, like, even what country she was in?
I had an idea that she might have been in Thailand, right? Because that's where
she's Thai, right?
She's Thai, but that's it. And the birth certificate that I had, because I was born in Saudi Arabia, everything was misspelled incorrectly.
Oh man!
So it wasn't
nothing to go on.
Right, exactly. So at the year 8, so when I was 24, about to go to 25. This was January of 2013. I almost gave up looking for her, but one of my buddies, Osama Janakat, he was my best man for my wedding, and he said, he's like, bro, we got you. We're here for you. Just show up in BC and we'll support you. Because they never knew that I was looking for my mom at like 8 years on my own. They didn't know. I kept it a secret.
They didn't know you were on that
Nobody
journey.
knew. Nobody, because I didn't want to share it with anybody. I wanted to keep it personal. I was ashamed about it. I was like, it was like a personal journey for me. And so he knew something was off with me. And so he opened up the space, and it was not just him. It was Osama, it was Abe, and it was Antoine. There were 3 of my friends. Antoine grew up in Newark. Abe was in New Jersey. We were middle school buddies, and Osama, I met him in high school. He came from Jordan, and so they were my best friends. They're still my soul brothers to this day. And they were like, "Hey, we got your back. Go find your mom." And so that day, I went in front of my laptop and I wrote a letter. And my goal was to take this letter and upload it on Facebook in the hopes of it going viral. And so I post that letter on Facebook.
Man, that's a shot in the dark.
Yeah, I know, right?
Like, honestly, where else do you go?
So that's the only thing that I got. I was like, hey, and I wrote like, hey, my name is Yahya Bakar. I was born in Mecca, Saudi Arabia at this time. It was basically a thank you letter. I just wanted to thank my mom for giving life to me.
Wow.
That's it.
That's extraordinary.
Yeah, I mean, like, I didn't know what else to say. It's like, hey, I have this life. I have these amazing relationships with my friends. I have an amazing girlfriend I'm very grateful for. Yes, I have my challenges, but I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for you. And that, so I wrote that letter. One lady reached out to me. Her name is Beth, and she was I met her at the school that I went to where they taught meditation.
Okay.
And we just met briefly at a party or whatever. And she was like, hey, I saw your post. I don't know anybody in Thailand very well, but my transcendental meditation teacher, she's the head meditation teacher in Thailand. Why don't you reach out to her? So she gave me her name and information. I reached out to this lady, told her, like, here's my letter. I'm wondering if you can help me. Turns out that lady has a brother who has a #1 TV show in Thailand. And he got a hold of my letter. 3 days later, I get a call from the TV host basically saying, hey, we want to help you. We read your letter. We'll do
What
whatever.
kind of TV show was it?
It's like the Ellen. It was a variety
Okay.
show. It was like the Ellen of
Okay.
America, but in
So
Thailand.
it wasn't specific to like helping
No,
you find
it was a
some-
variety show.
Right.
It was like comedy, mixture of this, laughing, yeah.
So that was
But
also
he's had a history. It's like a mixture of like what Oprah would do.
So like
right?
feel-good stories.
Yeah, he had a history of helping people reunite or something like that. So I was like, okay, what are the odds of that? You know, whatever. And so 3 days after that, I get a call in the middle of the night, and on the caller ID was a foreign number, and underneath it was Thailand. And I didn't know why the TV host was calling me. I just like thought it was a TV host. So I answered. I'm like, hello, hi, is this Yaya? Yes, who's this? Yaya, it's me, I'm your mom.
Well, how many days after you talked to this TV host?
So I wrote the letter. So from the genesis of the letter to that was 3 weeks. From the TV host reaching out to me, that was 3 days.
How did he find your mom?
I have no idea.
You still don't know.
I still don't know, but I heard, I think briefly, it was like he took the existing birth certificate that I had, and I think, I might be butchering because they tried to translate it to me and it might have gotten lost, but he took it to the police department, and turns out the last name there, they try to figure out all the different ways of writing it out, that it could have been in their culture, in English. And turns out my grandfather was a general in the Air Force in Thailand. And that's how they connected me to her, and that's how they found her. And and then I reunited with her. So
she calls your
called
phone.
she calls me. I'm in shock. I'm like, whoa, wait, what? Kate was with me, and she was like, wait, is everything okay? Mind you, this is in the middle of the night. I'm thinking I'm in a dream. So I pinch myself, I'm like, wow, this is you. And I just start crying. I'm in tears.
Sure.
She's in tears. And I get off the call, and then the TV host basically says, he sends me an email. It's like, hey, we want you to reunite with your mom on national television. Would
Because
you fly out?
this is identity. For you, it's just like, you don't know if you're Muslim or if you're Christian.
Right,
You
right.
don't know if you're going to be a doctor or if you're going to be a motivational person.
Right.
Like,
I don't know anything.
didn't have anything
She's
to
the
hang
only.
your hat on.
This was like, I feel like I was getting back to my roots.
right, and your dad has been like
right.
in and out of supporting you.
And so like I'm like,
can't
okay.
imagine.
So I flew out. I took all the money that I had, flew out, and I actually did a GoFundMe page to raise more money to fly out all my best friends, because if it wasn't for them, that would have never happened. So we all flew out, including Kate, and we went all the way down to Thailand. And I reunited with her, and dude, it was.
What was the flight like on the way there?
It was well, let's not even get to that, because it was like annoying. 14-hour flight to Dubai, and then
to
we
meet
got
your mom for the
to
very
get
first time.
right. Well, we were supposed to reunite with her on the show, where she came on, so she was on the show, and there was a flight delay from Dubai to Thailand, and so I missed that. Oh
my gosh.
So I didn't reunite with her when it was supposed to be planned. And so the next day I flew out. We actually reunited at the airport, at the hotel right next to the airport where we first separated. She ended up working at that airport when my dad and her split apart. That's a whole different story. But like they split apart, and she ended up working at the airport for 25 years straight. And I was in the hotel right there when I reunited with her. And it was, bro, I kid you not, it was crazy, because she had no idea that I was going to be there. And when I reunited, it was just like I was in tears, we were all crying, and I'm about to get emotional just thinking about it. It's just like I felt home. It felt like home for me. I was like, oh my God, this makes sense. Like everything was perfect. And then I was on a high. My friends got to meet her and everything. And then 4 months later, I got her a visa to visit me. And
In New Jersey.
In New Jersey, and she stayed at Kate's family's house because they had an extra guest bedroom.
Sure.
And She was supposed to stay with me for 10 days, and the first 5 days was amazing. Took her to New York City, showed her Big Apple, all that kind of stuff. It's the first time in America. And then on the 5th day, I think something happened that triggered her. And it was just about a bag. It was my stepmom, who her and my mom, they talked. You know, they were on good terms. But something happened.
So this is the person that had essentially like been your mom.
Right.
And she had a good relationship with your biological mom.
Well, they talked, when I reunited, they talked, and she thanked my stepmom.
So they were building a relationship.
For saying, hey, thank you for raising my son,
Right.
he's amazing, da-da-da.
Okay.
She's like, oh, you know, my stepmom helped me. She had the pictures and the birth certificate, so she gave it to me to help me find my mom.
Sure.
And my stepmom, she gave me a call one day. She still lives in Arizona, I'm in New Jersey. My stepmom gives me a call. She's like, hey, I saw a picture that you posted on Facebook with you and your mom. Right. Can you ask how much, my mom, she was wearing a Louis Vuitton bag. Can you ask how much those Louis Vuitton bags are in Thailand? I would like to buy one, but they're very expensive here, right? Innocent question. So I asked my mom, my biological mother, that question. And
they already had a relationship, so it wasn't like a weird question.
It wasn't a weird, like the relationship was like, they just talked 2 times on the phone, like a thank you.
Right.
But, you know, my mom has a language barrier too. She doesn't speak English fluently.
Right.
So I asked my mom, I was like, hey, my stepmom, Yasmin, she wants to know how much this bag is because they're very expensive here and she would like to buy them from Thailand. And I don't know what happened, dude. She just flipped a switch. It was like the whole room went dark. And she went from this happy lady to this like cold-hearted lady. And I'd felt something. I could read body language pretty well. And I felt something off. I was like, Mom, are you okay? She's like, yeah, I'm fine. My friend picks me up to go to the airport to drop one of my other friends off. We had that planned already. So he beeps the horn, he's in the driveway. My mom and I are like, okay, come on, let's go. So we sit in the back seat, and the whole ride there was just, we were going to Newark Airport. It was the most awkward feeling ever. I reach out to my mom's hand to console her, like, hey Mom, is everything okay? She snatches her hand away from me as if like she's off, and I'm confused. It was, the tension was heightened in the car. And then we finally dropped my friend off. I sit in the passenger seat with my buddy Abe driving the car, and all of a sudden on our way back home, my mom starts flipping out. She starts yelling, she starts cursing, she punches me in the back of my head. And just my mom, she punches me in the back of my head. And I'm in shock. I don't know what to do, I don't know how to behave in this moment. I'm holding my best friend's hand, and I'm about to break down in tears. And my best friend, he's confused. And so we finally get to the driveway. Kate's mom, she just gets home. My mom comes out of the car. She starts yelling, he's not a good son, he's not a good son, he's not a good son, I wanna go back to Thailand, I wanna go back to Thailand. I'm crying on my best friend's shoulder. And I'm confused. I'm like a little kid. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's going on. I'm a 25-year-old man who's confused because at that point, it's not, it's not the motivational speaker life coach Yaya. It's, I just found my mom and I don't know why she's upset at me, So,
Good, man.
So she says, I want a ticket to go to Thailand. I buy her a ticket to go to Thailand, even though she had 5 more days to stay with me. And all my friends come, Kate comes. And they're trying to console me, like everything is okay. And like about 30 minutes right before the taxi came, I wanted to knock on the door one more time to figure out like, what the fuck did I do wrong? Like, what did I do wrong? I'm confused. So I knock on the door, open the door, her bags are packed. I'm like, Mom, what did I do wrong? Can you just tell me? And right by her bed, there was the only picture that I had of her and I. It was a picture that I used to find her, in addition to the birth certificate. I framed it right by her bed. She pulls out the picture, rips it up, and throws it in my face and says, you're not my son. That moment, all I can think of is, who the fuck are you to tell me that? After all that I've been through. And I just blacked out. I started yelling, I went crazy. My best friend Osama, he pulled me back. And he's like, hey bro, everything's okay, stop. And he tried to like get me grounded. I just blacked out. But I was brokenhearted, man. Like it broke me, that was my low point. But the motivational speaker and life coach in me, after that moment, was like, hey, everything happens for a reason. The grass is greener on the other side. Let me bypass my emotions And let me think of the new way to think about it, because now I can be better about this. There's,
Right.
I'm better than this. So I did that, but in that process, I skipped the emotional healing. So anyway, the tension was there. My mom wasn't happy. I wasn't happy. I couldn't trust her anymore after that whole event, and it still hasn't healed to this day. I move on, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna start my own fucking family. This is gonna be good. My sense of identity doesn't have to come from my mom or my dad. Like, it's gonna be okay. So I proposed to Kate on our 10-year anniversary, because I'm thinking like, this is my chance to break
This
the
is the
cycle.
Kate from 14 years
Yeah,
old.
this is my high school sweetheart, right? Because she's been consistent. Like, I know what love means because of her, not from a fucking book, not from someone telling me what love is. I know it because she shows up for me every single day. And that was my moment for me, like, to be like, this is it. This is my chance to break the cycle of dysfunction. So I proposed to Kate, which is amazing. And I fly out to go to Florida, where my dad was living at the time, and I invite him to come to my wedding. And he says, "Are you having a Muslim wedding?" And I never told my dad about my spiritual beliefs or anything like that. And I said, no, we're gonna do it the way that we wanna do it. It's not gonna be like a religious thing. We just wanna do it our own way. And he's like, listen, are you Muslim or are you not Muslim? Because if you're not Muslim, you're not my son. I lied to him. I said, of course I'm Muslim, Dad. Why would I pray 5 times a day? Why would I fast during Ramadan? Meanwhile, I just do it in front of him, pretending to be someone that I'm not, just to win his acceptance and approval. So I fly back home, and for 3 days straight, I'm crying my eyes out. Because I'm like, why the fuck do I have to go through this? Why me? Why does this have to happen to me? And I said, I'm sick and tired of trying to walk on eggshells, pretending to be someone that I'm not. It's exhausting. So I called my dad and I said, Dad, I'm not a Muslim the way that you want me to be a Muslim. If you want to call me a Muslim, call me a Christian, a Jew, a Hindu, or Buddhist, because I live by the values and the principles of every great messenger and prophet, not by what you want to call me. And he said, you're not my son, and he hangs up the phone. So that year, not only did I propose to my high school sweetheart, but my father and my birth mother disowned me after I just reunited with her too. And it was, for me, it felt worse than being an orphan, because they chose not to be with me. They chose not to be with me. And I was like, what the fuck is wrong with me? What's wrong with me? So I bring this up not to gain the sympathy from anybody, but because when we talk about self-acceptance and love, like, that was real for me. That hit hard for me. And it was in that moment I was trying to heal and go through, like, I started seeing a psychotherapist because I'm like, I couldn't be the motive. I felt fake. Right. I was speaking to all these stages, sharing my story about how you can overcome adversity, and behind closed doors, I'm brokenhearted. I'm afraid. I'm insecure.
Right. Brother, I appreciate you, man.
Thank you, brother. Like, this is what it's about at the end of the day.
This is strength right now. I want you to know that.
I know. Thank you, bro.
This vulnerability that you're showing and that you're sharing, like, this is the most powerful I've ever seen you. I want you to know that.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. That means a lot coming from you, bro. Thank you. So I go to the therapist, and this is when I realized, like, there's a huge difference between self-improvement and self-acceptance. No amount of self-improvement can ever make up for a lack of self-acceptance. And that's from Dr. Robert Holden. And that's when it hit, like, real. That was the journey of self-acceptance and opening up and accepting who I am, independent of what my father and my mother think of me. Mm-hmm. And going through forgiveness, like, that was a journey. It's still a journey for me, trying to heal that relationship. I still don't have the best relationship with my father. I still don't have the best relationship with my mother. I've reached out to both of them. I forgave them, and for me, forgiveness, I heard this from, I forgot who I think his name was, I forgot who his name, I think it's John Assaraf. When you can thank the person for giving you that experience, that's true forgiveness. And I thank my mom and my dad for giving me the experience that I had, not because of what they did or didn't do, but because of who they've helped me become based on the adversity that they've provided me.
That is so powerful.
Yeah. And so,
I want to sit in that for a minute. that's so powerful on so many different levels, yeah, because no matter what occurs during the course of life, there's lessons to be learned, regardless if it's, you know, winning Super Bowls or writing a New York Times bestseller or coaching somebody, you know, to impacting on a Tony Robbins level, or it's the heartbreak of what you've experienced, like your vulnerability and your strength and your confidence to share that story with the people, and for them to be able to see your pain and experience your heartbreak, but then to also see you take that pivot and draw strength and draw wisdom and draw experience and growth from that, I feel like is one of the most powerful life lessons that I've ever been able to witness, hear, feel, or experience, man.
Thank you, brother.
Dude, thank you.
Thank you.
That is
you're welcome.
Incredible.
I appreciate that.
Because, I mean, if you think about how that applies to anything in life, like no matter how a person or how life seemingly wrongs you, the person that you become, you're in full control of, because the things that happen in life are neutral.
Right.
And you are a shining, like a magnificent, blinding, shining example of how something is, you know, horrific and hurtful and hateful as a rejection of your mother, how you've been able to take that and become who you are. And dude, I feel like that pretty much makes you unstoppable, because
Thank
no
you.
matter what happens in life, you're going to grow from it if you're living by that mindset and by living by those values. Because whatever happens to you in life, you're gonna become stronger for it.
Thank you. Yes.
Dude,
and
that's incredible.
I appreciate that.
I
Seriously.
hope that clicks for me, because that makes you seem like a superhero, because nothing can hurt you, because you're gonna learn and grow from it. Not that you can't be hurt, not that you're
Right.
not human,
Yeah.
and not that you're not hurting right now. And I want to thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
But you've grown from it as well.
Yeah.
You know, just think about how many people that are watching right now that are going to be able to connect to that. I know I connect with that in a very special way. But how many people are going to be able to connect with that and draw strength from your struggle? You know?
Thank you, bro.
It's powerful, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dude, that's incredible.
I'm grateful. Like, I just want to make sure everybody knows, like, my pain has become my purpose. My mess has become my message. I've used my trials to triumph over everything that I've gotten, and I'm still a masterpiece that's a work in progress, and I know that. So it's like, and I hope my story inspires anybody.
There's no hope. We don't hope.
Thank
We
you.
don't want. We
Okay.
don't wish, man. I'm going
Right.
to check your language, because
Okay, thank you.
there's no way that somebody watching this or listening to this is not going to remember it.
Yeah. Thank you,
So
man.
don't hope for it, man.
Thank you.
This is
I'm on a mission to not just build the family that I've never had, but to live a powerful legacy for others to not follow, but to lead for themselves. You know, like right now it's so much less about Yaya, and it's about how can I be a better conduit
You're
of
doing that right now.
love. Thank you. And that's been a huge shift, because I feel like my journey of growing into a boy, into becoming a man, and still it's a work in progress, and I'm still learning and evolving, that has given me the emotional maturity to handle anything that, whether it's business, whether it's my relationships, whether it's my health trials, like just a better perspective of what I'm going through. And I want to offer this like, I want to nail this piece home. Value. You're valuable because you exist. You're valuable without having to produce value. You're valuable without having to perform or persuade or cajole. You're valuable without having to pretend to be someone that you're not. For me, value in any context, your self-worth is not connected to your net worth or your network. Your self-worth comes from you owning your value. And value to me stands for 5 things that you can bring in any context with any person. VALUE. Vulnerability, authenticity, love, understanding, and energy. You bring that to the table, you don't have to pretend to be anyone that you're not. You can just show up, be seen as you are, unapologetically self-expressed, fully self-expressed.
Wow.
And I know this will give, not that you need permission, but this will give everyone the permission to not just be themselves, but accept themselves for who they are. Because no amount of self-improvement can make up for a lack of self-acceptance, as Dr. Robert Holden would say.
I want to paint this picture, and that is so profound and so powerful that I want to revisit it, and I want to paint this portrait on this canvas of what you just explained. You just described to me the experience of living a lifetime without having a true identity, and then really being able to capture it like you described it, this is home. You described home to me, and meeting your mother, only to have that ripped away from you in the most abrupt and hateful way, without still to this day understanding it why, and then drawing strength and a life lesson from the most horrific 60 minutes of your life, and still having question marks of that, all while completely spilling all of your pain and your heartache out to people with the intention of not pandering for empathy, but teaching a life lesson. You're limitless.
Thank you, brother.
You know?
Thank
You are truly limitless. I want to revisit value. Value in being vulnerability,
Yes.
authenticity,
Love.
understanding, and energy. That is such a I want to say that one more time. Vulnerability, authenticity, love, understanding, and energy.
Yes.
If the people listening to this and watching this have one takeaway from today, I hope that is it.
Thank you.
That is so powerful, man.
Own your value, baby. Own your value.
Wow.
Own your value.
Yeah. That was heavy, man. I want to thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Dude,
Thank you for having me here. Thank you for holding a safe space, and just want to honor you. Like, I've been on a few different podcasts before, and some I feel safe enough to share, some I don't, because it's a different context. And someone with your stature, with your accomplishments, your achievements, to be such a grounded man, perfectly imperfect, a beautiful mess, to hold space for someone like me in this way, to be seen and heard, says volumes about who you are as a person and who you are as a host and a facilitator of transformation. So I'm just grateful that you're showing up and stepping up in this way with this medium and this vehicle to impact millions, billions of lives one day, in the future, in the near future. So thank you for that for me.
Man, are you kidding me? I knew that you were going to come on here and provide massive amounts of value and takeaway, because you do that in my own life. Like, you inspire me as a father and a husband. But there was a side of me that you showed me and everybody listening and watching that is truly unbelievable and unforgettable. I wrote down a couple things, as I always do, kind of like what I experience of the person that's on the episode. And there's one thing that I haven't written down because I didn't get to experience it until the last 15 minutes of the show. And I want to honor you and acknowledge you for your vulnerability. That was so powerful. And it was so, I feel so honored that you felt safe enough, in this place with these microphones and these cameras to be able to show a side of yourself that you've never shown before. And through that vulnerability, I was able to see an incredible amount of strength. Your commitment to excellence, the way that you go all in on everything that you do. You went all in on this episode, and your intention for doing that has nothing to do with you, so you show up so selfless, and I've known that about you. And every single time my phone rings and it says Yahya Bakar, I know that when I answer that phone and I get off that phone, you're going to give to me, either give support or give love or give understanding or advice. I've never had as powerful a friendship of what we've been able to create, and it's in its infancy, because I feel like you're all in on life, so you're only going to get better, man.
Yes, absolutely.
And I feel like in order for me to honor you and honor this friendship. I got to level up every single day because you're on a sprint and you've got a heck of a lot of endurance, man. And the last thing that I want to acknowledge you for is the accessibility of which you make your heart for people. Because I know it's not just me, and I know you love me in a special way, and we have a special bond, but your accessibility of your heart to people that you don't even know. And I've seen it on the street, just walking by people that, for whatever reason, you sense something or see something or feel something that they're in need, and your heart is available to them. So
Thank you, brother.
I feel like I needed to say that, man.
Thank you so much, man.
Dude, this is incredible, man. I mean, for people watching, I want to go back to what, for me personally, was a monster takeaway. And if you have a takeaway or you have a message for Yaya and what he shared today, whether that's an applicable takeaway for your life or just the story and how it relates to you, share this in the comment sections or leave us a review, because I don't think that is the acknowledgement that I want you to have from the people that are watching the show, because the people that are involved in consuming and sharing this content are people that want the same out of their life as what you do. And so my hope and my prayer is that they go all in on themselves,
Yes.
leading with vulnerability and understanding and love.
Right.
I mean, vulnerability, authenticity, love, understanding, and energy.
Yeah.
That is so powerful, man.
Show up, baby.
Dude, thank you for showing up the way that you did, man. That was.
And
I've never had a stronger man on my podcast, man.
That means a lot. Wow.
You went to a place that was extraordinarily uncomfortable for you, and I could feel that. And I hope that you all appreciate that, because that was powerful to be a part of, man. The air in this room just got thicker, man. I appreciate you, man. Thank you, brother.
I love you, man.
I love you too, man. Guys, it doesn't get any heavier or meaningful than that, man. So I hope you guys appreciate this. This is kind of a little bit different of a send-off for our viewers and our listeners, but thank you. I appreciate it. And brother, thank you, man.
Thank you, brother. Bye.
We'll see you guys next time.
Down the field, Hollywood!
Let me think about that one.
77 yards! Whoa! Who is this kid?
Lester.